6 months left. No more excuses. 6 months from now, you're either explaining why you didn't or showing what you did. There's no third option. Time doesn't pause so you can decide. It doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It just keeps moving, whether you move with it or not. Most of us live like we've got forever. We push the important stuff to next week, next month, next year, telling ourselves there's time. Maybe there is. But what if there wasn't? What if you knew, right now, that you had exactly 6 months to become the person you keep promising yourself you'll become? Would you still keep waiting? By the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do with your 6 months. Not someday, not eventually, starting today. 6 months isn't a long time. It's also more than enough. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and badly underestimate what they can do in 6 months. That's not random. It's just how we're wired. A single day feels small, so we treat it carelessly. 6 months feels far off, so we assume there'll always be more of it. Both are wrong, and both are why so many people look up years later, having built nothing at all. Here's the part nobody wants to hear. You already have proof 6 months is enough. 6 months ago you were a different person. Different habits, different body, different bank account, different relationships. Something changed, whether you noticed it happening or not. The only question is whether that change was on purpose or by accident. Stop asking for more time. Start asking what you'll do with what you've got. Think back on the last 6 months, honestly. What did you start? What did you finish? What did you promise yourself you'd do that never happened? If you're being real with yourself, most of what didn't happen wasn't a time problem. It's that the deadline never felt real. That's what this is. A deadline. Not a countdown to something tragic. A countdown to the version of you that stops making excuses. Excuses feel like protection. Like they're shielding you from failure, embarrassment, disappointment. They're not protecting you from anything. They're protecting the version of you that doesn't want to change. Every excuse is a small trade. An uncomfortable truth swapped for a comfortable lie. String enough of those trades together, and you end up with a life you never actually chose. 6 months isn't a long time. It's also more than enough. Picture a guy who tells himself he'll start exercising once work settles down. Work never settles down. There's always a new deadline, a new fire, one more reason to wait a week. 5 years go by. He's not fitter, not healthier, just 5 years older, and 5 years more convinced he simply doesn't have the time. He was never missing time. He was missing a decision. Now picture that same guy finding out something in his life is about to change permanently in 6 months. Suddenly the workout stops being optional. Suddenly the excuse doesn't hold up anymore. He finds the 20 minutes he swore didn't exist. His schedule didn't change. His relationship to the deadline did. That's what a real deadline does. It doesn't manufacture time. It exposes the time that was there all along. Stop asking for more time. Start asking what you'll do with what you've got. Here's what people get wrong about urgency. They think it means panic. It doesn't. Panic sends you sprinting in 10 directions and you end up nowhere. Real urgency, the kind that actually changes a life, is quiet, focused. It's just the decision to stop pretending you've got unlimited shots and start treating each day like one of a limited number you actually get. Picture a candle burning in a dark room. If you believed it would burn forever, you'd never bother reading by it. You'd let it flicker while you did something else, telling yourself you'd read later, when the light was better. But if you knew that candle had exactly 6 months of wax left and not a second more, you'd use every bit of that light while it lasted. The candle doesn't need to change for your behavior to change. Your awareness does. Your 6 months are already burning. The question is whether you use the light or waste it in the corner. Let's break down what 6 months actually is. Roughly 180 days. Not some mystical stretch of infinite opportunity. Not an impossible sprint either. 180 mornings. 180 chances to choose differently than you did yesterday. Once you break it down like that, it stops feeling abstract. 180 days is enough to read 20 books at 15 pages a day. Enough to build a body you'd be proud of if you train 4 times a week. Enough to save real money if you stop leaking it on things you don't need. Enough to repair a relationship you've been avoiding. Finish the project you keep shelving. Or start the idea sitting in your notes app collecting dust. None of it takes heroics. Just showing up for 180 ordinary days in a row. 6 months isn't a long time. It's also more than enough. Most people don't fail because 6 months isn't enough. They fail because they try to fix everything on day one. Huge list of changes. This is the moment everything transforms energy. And by day 4 they're exhausted and quietly glad to quit. That's not a 6-month problem. That's a day 1 problem. The people who actually make good use of their 6 months, do something far less dramatic. They pick one or two things that actually matter. They set the bar low enough that skipping feels harder than doing it. Then they just repeat the small thing until it stops being something they're trying and becomes who they are. Stop asking for more time. Start asking what you'll do with what you've got. Think about someone training for their first marathon. Nobody expects to run 26 miles on day one. Week one might just be a single mile, and it might feel like enough. Someone watching from outside might laugh at how small that looks. But that 1 mile, repeated and stretched out slowly over 6 months, is exactly how someone who's never run more than a few blocks ends up crossing a finish line. The distance didn't change overnight. The person did. One ordinary run at a time. Your 6 months work the same way. You don't need a dramatic first day. You need a first day you can actually repeat tomorrow and the day after, without burning out. Sit with this for a second. In 6 months, you will have changed, decision or no decision. Your body will be different. Your habits will be different. Circumstances will shift in ways you can't fully predict. The only thing still up for grabs is the direction. It can move toward the life you say you want, or it can drift back into the same patterns you've been stuck in for years. Drifting takes zero effort. That's exactly why most people end up there. 6 months isn't a long time. It's also more than enough. What actually derails a 6-month stretch is rarely the big obstacles. It's the small, boring days. The random Tuesday where nothing's happening, nobody's watching, and skipping would be so easy. Those days don't feel important in the moment, which is exactly why they matter most. The version of you 6 months out isn't built on the days you felt inspired. It's built on the days you didn't feel like it and did the work anyway. Think of a farmer preparing a field. Nobody's out there admiring the field in February. Nothing visible is happening. No harvest to point to yet. But the farmer who tills the soil in February is the same one holding a full harvest in August. The invisible months are what make the visible results possible. Skip February because it feels unrewarding, and there's nothing to harvest later. Your 6 months will have plenty of Februaries, ordinary, unglamorous stretches where nothing seems to be happening. Show up for them anyway. That's where the whole outcome actually gets decided. Stop asking for more time. Start asking what you'll do with what you've got. Let's be honest about excuses, because this is where most 6-month plans quietly die. An excuse is rarely a lie about what's possible. It's a lie about what's required of you personally. When someone says, "I don't have time," what they usually mean is, "This isn't important enough yet for me to rearrange my day around it." That's a hard sentence to say out loud, so the mind hands you a softer one instead. The moment you stop accepting your own excuses is the moment your 6 months actually start. Think about the excuses you've used in just the last month. "I'll start Monday. Things are too chaotic right now. I just need 1 more week to prepare." Everyone sounds reasonable in the moment. That's what makes them dangerous. A bad excuse is easy to reject. A reasonable sounding one is the kind that quietly steals years, because you never feel the need to challenge it. Here's a simple test. Would you still accept that excuse if you genuinely believed you had only 6 months to make this happen? Most excuses collapse instantly under that question, because most of them were never about capacity. They were about comfort. 6 months isn't a long time. It's also more than enough. Now let's build the actual approach. Because a deadline without a system is just anxiety with a due date attached. Start by picking one thing. Not 5, not 10. One area of your life where, 6 months from now, you refuse to be standing in the same place. Trying to fix everything at once guarantees you fix nothing. Because your attention gets spread so thin no single habit ever gets strong enough to hold. Once you've picked it, shrink the daily action down until it feels almost embarrassingly small. Not because small is the goal, but because small is repeatable, and repeatable is the entire game. 15 pages a day beats an ambitious reading list you abandon by week 2. 20 minutes of movement beats a 2-hour gym routine you can't sustain past month 1. The size of the daily action matters far less than whether you're still doing it in month 5. Then cut the friction. Decide the night before what tomorrow's action is, and make it as easy as possible to start. Lay out what you need. Clear the excuse before it even forms. People who stay consistent for 6 months aren't relying on willpower every morning. They've built a path with so few obstacles that starting barely takes effort. Stop asking for more time. Start asking what you'll do with what you've got. You will miss a day. Plan for it now, because pretending you won't is exactly how one missed day turns into a missed month. The rule that actually matters isn't never miss. It's never miss twice. 1 missed day is just a day. 2 in a row is the start of a new worse habit. The difference between finishing your 6 months and quietly abandoning it in week 7 usually comes down to how you handled your first bad week, not whether you had one. Think about learning to walk a tightrope. You will lose your balance. Everyone does. The people who make it across aren't the ones who never wobble. They're the ones who catch themselves and keep walking instead of climbing down the second they feel unsteady. Your 6 months will have wobbles built in. Expect them. Catch yourself. Keep walking. 6 months isn't a long time. It's also more than enough. Let's talk about the middle, because that's where most people quietly give up and almost nobody warns you about it. The first 2 weeks feel exciting. Momentum, motivation, a fresh sense of possibility. The last few weeks feel exciting too, because the finish line's in sight. It's the middle, roughly month 2 through 4, where the excitement's worn off and the results still aren't visible. That stretch is where most 6-month plans die. Not because the plan was wrong, but because nobody warned people how boring the middle would feel. Know that going in, and it stops being a crisis and becomes just expected. You're not failing when month 3 feels flat. You're exactly where everyone who's ever built something real also stood. The people who make it through aren't the ones who stay motivated the whole way. They're the ones who kept their word to themselves on the days motivation had nothing to offer. Stop asking for more time. Start asking what you'll do with what you've got. Here's what nobody tells you about 6 months from now. That version of you is already being built, right now, by whatever you decide to do after this ends. Not by some future decision you'll make once you feel more ready. By this one, today. Think about compound interest. The kind that applies to money, and to everything else too. A single deposit doesn't look impressive. Neither does the second, or the 10th. But money left to compound quietly for 6 months looks completely different from money that was never deposited at all. Your habits work the same way. Each individual day looks unremarkable. Stack 180 of them, and they produce a person your past self would barely recognize. 6 months isn't a long time. It's also more than enough. So here's the only real question left. 6 months from now, will you be explaining why you didn't, or showing what you did? You already know which answer you want. The only thing left is whether you're willing to trade the comfortable excuse for the deadline that actually matters. Stop waiting for the version of your life where everything's easier. Stop waiting for motivation to show up and carry you. Pick the one thing. Shrink it down to something repeatable. Show up on the boring days. Catch yourself when you wobble. And when month 3 feels flat, keep going anyway. Because that's exactly when it's supposed to feel that way. 6 months isn't a threat. It's a gift most people never bother to use. You've got 180 days starting right now, and not one of them is promised twice. No more excuses. Just the next 180 days, and what you decide to do with them.